Hello and welcome to all of you. You're watching Tech 24, France 24's tech show. What is to become of Facebook's cryptocurrency Libra? Announced in June, many countries in Europe are opposed to it, citing systemic financial risks. France has gone so far as to say it will block it altogether. And in Test 24, we tried the Fairphone 3. As its name suggests, it's a gadget that's designed to last and put an end to the so-called planned obsolescence. She's Silicon Valley's worst enemy. Danish politician Margrethe Vestager has been reappointed as the European antitrust chief for the next 5 years. And as one of the most high-profile members of the current EU executive, she's in charge of vetting mergers and breaking up cartels. Vestager attracted much attention when she started investigating big tech in particular.
Among her colleagues in Brussels, Margrethe Vestager has many supporters. But in the tech world, it's another story. According to the New York Times, Vestager is known as the scourge of Silicon Valley. The latest tech giant in her crosshairs, Google.
The fine of 1.49 billion euros reflects the serious and the sustained nature of Google's infringement.
On 3 separate occasions, the commissioner has imposed fines on Google totaling 8 billion euros. Her tough stance on big tech has seen Vestager's profile rise in Europe. In 2016, she demanded Apple repay 13 billion euros in back taxes to Ireland, a country where the corporate tax rate is already among the lowest in Europe. During a visit to the U.S., the Trump administration accused Vestager of being anti-American. She brushed it off with humor.
Of course, it's an iPhone. Well, do you know how difficult it is to get the 7 in Europe?
I think it is very important to be here and take the discussion in person so that we know that we disagree on real issues and not on misunderstanding or misinterpretations of how we do things.
But it's not only U.S. companies that have run afoul of Vestager. In early 2019, she vetoed the merger between German company Siemens and France's Alstom on the grounds that it would cause unfair competition. Her new position as the executive vice president in charge of digital affairs for the EU will see Vestager take on more than just antitrust enforcement. She'll also be implementing digital regulation overseeing artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and data mining. And if her expanded role ruffles feathers, Vestager says that's just a sign that she's doing the job right.
Now, regulators in the EU and the United States have ordered an investigation into Libra, the cryptocurrency announced by Facebook back in June that can be used to pay or send money using an app. The digital coin is set to launch next year, but many governments do not appreciate the project. France's economy minister Bruno Le Maire has said that France plans to block Libra. Claire Rush reports.
The warning from Bruno Le Maire was clear. France will try to block Libra because the monetary sovereignty of countries is at stake.
It would be a global currency in the hands of one player that has more than 2 billion users around the world. The state's monetary sovereignty is in play here. The monetary sovereignty of our nations is in play. Under these circumstances, we cannot authorize Libra's development on European soil.
Libra is the name of the new global digital currency being designed by Facebook, along with 27 other partners, including Visa, Uber, and Spotify. It would facilitate online commerce and provide financial services for the tech giant's roughly 2 billion users. But as in France, many officials around the world oppose Libra. They're worried about the destabilization of the global financial system, as well as regulation difficulties, money laundering, and privacy. But Libra told France 24 that it will collect the bare minimum of user data.
We are not going to store any customer-related data, so basically the information that would be stored for each transaction would be public addresses of the source and destination, the timestamp, and an amount. Any other data about the customers will not appear there and will not be stored at that level.
User data would be stored, however, by the companies that accept Libra as payment, so privacy could remain a sticking point, especially considering the extensive global reach of Libra's main backer, Facebook. The scope of the tech giant's operations makes it particularly difficult to regulate, and governments, already struggling to catch up with the rapidly expanding cryptocurrency market, fear they'll lose the ability to manage their economies.
And it's time now to welcome our in-house expert, Dhananjay Kadalkar. Hello, Dan.
Hello, Julia.
You're here to tell us more about an incredible discovery that was made by scientists this week. It's actually a world first.
Well, yes, Julia, this is the first time that we have been able to detect the presence of water in the atmosphere of a potentially habitable exoplanet. This exoplanet, called K218b, it lies 110 light years away from our solar system. It is 8 times the size of the Earth, and it orbits its host star in 33 days. Now, this star is also very interesting because it is much cooler, it is much smaller, and it has a mass that is 0.4 times than that of the Sun. This planet was first discovered by the Kepler Space Telescope in 2015.
Okay, so tell us more about how this discovery was made.
Well, scientists from the University College London, they used the archive data from 2016 and 2017 that was captured by the Hubble Space Telescope. They developed open source algorithms to analyze the starlight that was filtered through the atmosphere of this particular planet. And by using spectroscopy, that is by measuring the wavelengths of the spectra of this particular light, they were able to detect the presence of water molecules. They also detected the presence of hydrogen and helium at the same time.
Now, earlier you said that this was potentially a habitable planet. So what does it mean? Is it another version of planet Earth, and could we live there one day?
Well, we don't know that answer yet, but there are some intriguing parallels between the Earth and this particular planet. So, for example, first of all, there's the presence of water in the atmosphere. Second, by being in the habitable zone, it means that it is in that region where temperatures support the sustainability of liquid water on the planet's surface. And you know, liquid water is absolutely essential for harboring life. And thirdly, the planet also receives almost the same amount of radiation from its host star as our planet receives from the Sun. But there are other factors that we must consider. For example, this particular star, which is a red dwarf, it is much more active than our Sun. So it emits more radiation, and that could have an impact on the atmosphere of this particular planet. Now, for more on this, let's listen in to Giovanna Tinetti, who is an astrophysicist at the University College London and who is also the co-author of the paper that announced this discovery.
And this particular planet is ticking all the boxes. It doesn't mean that it's good or habitable for us human beings, because, for instance, we have found also that there's still a lot of hydrogen in the atmosphere, and hydrogen is not necessarily something that we will be comfortable with as human beings.
And more importantly, Julia, our knowledge about the presence of life or even information about this planet or other exoplanets will be greatly enhanced once the next generation of telescopes, including the James Webb Space Telescope, which is to be launched in 2021, will get operational.
And this is a theme that we actually love on Tech24, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. What do we know of SETI, of life on other exoplanets as of today?
Well, it's a question that has fascinated mankind for ages, but unfortunately, we don't have an answer to this question. But that hasn't stopped us from speculating, and one of the theories that estimates the possibility of the presence of detectable advanced civilization is the Drake's equation that was proposed by the radio astronomer Frank Drake in 1961. So it essentially consists of n, which is the number of such civilizations, and there are 7 variables, including the rate of star formation, the fraction of such stars hosting planets, the number of planets that can host life, the presence of life on among these planets, the presence of intelligent life, and the ability to have this technology to transmit signals, and finally the time taken to transmit the signals.
It's a fascinating and vast subject. Thank you very much indeed for that, Dhananjay Kadalkar. We're going to move on to Test 24. It's already being called the phone that dares to care about people. Dan, tell us more about this sustainable and modular smartphone.
Well, this is Fairphone 3, which is the latest iteration in the series of mobile phones that has been developed by the Dutch startup called Fairphone. Again, this phone, like the previous two phones, lays emphasis on longevity, eco-friendliness, and the use of responsibly mined minerals. So just to give you an example, at the back, you see there's a semi-opaque cover, and you can easily remove this cover. Perhaps this is one of the very few phones, or the only phone that comes with a screwdriver.
Right.
But because this is a modular phone, you can quickly disassemble and assemble this phone. And there are multiple screws here. So if you want to replace a part that's damaged, for example, the screen is damaged, you just replace the screen instead of just throwing away the phone and buying a new phone. So this helps in reducing the carbon footprint. The longer you use the phone,
right, of course, the less you replace it as well.
Absolutely. Secondly, the company is also working on making software that can last for over 5 years. Now it also comes with a battery that is 3000 milliampere hour, so it lasts longer, and it has solid features. So for example, the screen is 5.7 inch full HD. Then it has a dual nano SIM. It has a fingerprint sensor. Then it has a 64 GB storage, 4 GB RAM. So yeah, it's a pretty decent phone with all these ethical, that follows all these ethical principles.
Dhananjay Kadalkar, thank you very much for that. That brings us to the end of this week's edition of Tech 24, but you can watch it again on our website, France24.com.